Good evening. It's Friday. We're back again with our 179th production of our broadcast here in the Issues Room on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our Issues Room page. This evening, we're going to have a good conversation, predominantly discussing women's issue. And so we like to encourage you to join us here tonight. Please, please, please share the link, share the word. We're going to have a good one. We're featuring the Liberian Women Advocacy to End Violence in Liberia. And I think this organization is new, but some of the powerful brand of women behind the organization will make it formidable, especially for its purpose that it was founded for. And so we're hoping to have a great conversation here tonight with Massa Washington, Madam Beatrice Conga Gray, Nee Allison, and Mr. Isaac Smith. It's expected that they all will be here joining Alphonso and I momentarily. But just to remind you, Moses Sandy will not be with us tonight because Moses is bereaved. He lost his only brother, and the brother will be buried tomorrow in Africa. And he couldn't make it to Africa, so he's kind of memorializing and having a quiet time with his family. And so he wouldn't be here tonight. Again, we say thank you for coming through, Fergie Moyu. Always good to see you, my brother. You've made this platform a place to be. You have been very committed, and so we always like to recognize you. Uh, Again, we say we're here Tuesdays and Fridays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 p.m. in Liberia, the Liberian Man time. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Alfonso is here, so let me bring my brother in. We're just talking behind the scene. Uh, I was scared whether you were going to be here because lately, work has been holding you up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good to see you.
Thank you, brother. Good to see you. You're correct. Work has been kicking my rear end, but you know, I was able to make it today. I'm happy. Every time I'm here with you guys, it's an exciting moment. Sorry, Moses is not here as you indicated, but we wish him well. And again, he's bereaved. We wish him well. We pray with him and his family.
Alfonso, this evening I was sitting in my office before leaving, and something came to mind, and I started to do a calculation, and I think we can have a show on it, but
Hmm.
I just wanted to give a snippet of it. Liberia presidency for 6 years. I think it was horrible to do that in a society where the president comes poor and leaves rich. So you give the president 6 plus 6, that's 12. And then sitting there to myself thinking, you mean to tell me Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and George Weah would take 24 years out of our existence? Let's hypothetically say if he becomes president, right?
Hmm.
And then I did the math and I said, when we were 4 years, we could have had three presidents in order the two that we're talking Ellen and Upon. Maybe the third one was going to be better had we had 4 years. And that person did eight, right? So we've had three presidents instead of two. But let's say if the president did one term, we could have had 4 or 5 presidents.
Yep.
Even with 4 years, if somebody means well for the country, we can do a lot. But
Yes.
here we are now stuck in this conundrum of 6 years of greed, of corruption. Brother, how you think? What do you think? We need to change this. Honestly,
That is a very important issue for Volcano, and I agree with you. That's something that we should discuss, on an entire show. You're right. I mean, just two people with two terms each will go for
24
more than
years.
it's 2 decades, more than 2 decades
Yeah,
of people's time,
a
and
quarter, a quarter of a century. Put it that way.
absolutely a quarter of a century exactly. So that really can kill, a lot of progress in a country with just two people being with the same ideas and same thoughts and same group of people. So definitely is an important thing to look at. There was a movement towards limiting the term to 4 years, so that if somebody went two terms is at least 8 years. But if you raise it to six, then there's an argument. If it's six, then maybe it should be just limited to just one term. But I think that is an important discussion and an important subject for national debate. I agree
Because
with you.
we're robbing ourselves. We're robbing
Yep,
ourselves of the opportunity to have better leaders in the
yep,
country. When you
Yeah.
get stuck with someone and the gullibility of the society,
Yeah.
the electors and the voters, they run in the street zigway. My
Yeah.
brother, we're doomed.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? 24 years? I'm thinking, yes, and listen, the prospect is bright. And here now we go in 24, it seems to be doomed.
Yeah.
24 of my life,
Yeah.
gone, zero. We
Zero.
all Joe took his own, Taylor took his own. what
Yeah.
left?
Yeah.
What left for any? For you and myself to have an opportunity at a fair shot, not to be president, but
Yeah.
just to contribute to the country.
Hmm.
I
It
just,
does
I just was
limit
thinking about it.
a long presidential term does limit opportunities, especially for young people coming up, because now you have to wait for 12 years or 24 years before you even throw your hat at anything can become something, especially if you don't belong to the leadership clique for that period of time. Given the way our people govern, once you're not with them, even you go start a business, they suppress it. You go do something on your own, they suppress it. That's a very, very long time for one person or just for a few people to be in power. I totally agree with you.
And quickly before we go to our guest, you think 12 years comes fast, but when nothing is accomplished in 12 years, it's a long time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's the difference there.
Yep.
12 years would come by the snap of the finger. Yes, 6 years gone,
Yep.
almost where we are.
Yep.
But they add another 6 years again, and then but you look at it, the Morovia. I just saw Flag Day yesterday. Morovia still look danger. The
Yeah.
buildings are not painted. The
Yeah.
city looks like an old place coming out of earthquake.
Yeah.
So what
And
what are we gaining from all of these long term? So just tell me, say you want one party
yeah. Yeah.
state like it
Yeah.
was with the True We Party.
Hmm. And you make a very, very important point. Forget about opportunities for people who want to run for office or all of that. If nothing is being done, if you have a bad leadership in place, but they have to be there for 6 years or for 12 years, that is really the knock. That's the biggest problem. Where the leadership in power is doing nothing, has no vision, think that paying YF fee is a major contribution to education. Think that those kinds of things, those little thinking, you know instead of trying to put big bold ideas in place to move the country forward. You saw the pictures yesterday. You saw how dingy, as you said, the city and the country is. But look at our markets. Look at the dirt in the streets. Why up to now are we even going around big building market buildings for people to go clubbing when other people are around are moving to stores and malls and those kinds of things. So we keep being left behind when we have bad governments in place, and it takes a long time to get rid of them because we got to wait for 6 years or for 12 years. Yes, that is really the biggest problem when you have in place a government that knows nothing, that's doing nothing, but you got to sit down with.
And even the 12 years you're waiting for the men if the same party come back again, then
Yeah,
another 12 plus
that,
12
that, that
So we're in a serious conundrum. But
yeah,
we already got to constitutionally change this clause that Doe came in with the 1985 elections. I think it has to be changed. Go back to
yeah.
the 4 years. 4 years is a long time,
Mhm.
to deal with some kind of craziness. Uh,
And when you have short terms, you will force people to accomplish things
yes.
because they know time short. If I don't do this, the people will remove me. So they have a short time within which they'll come, so they will work harder. If they have a long time, say, I'm here for 6 years, man. And then in a fourth year or fifth year, we'll start doing something, which is, I guess, what we
And by
see.
that time, they're already filthy rich.
Their pockets are full.
Yeah. All right, let's go backstage and bring in our guest. This is Massa Washington, Emilia Washington. Uh, oh, Massa, go with you. Yep. We're on the super highway, the noise not small.
Driving.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is
Okay.
Nee is Nee Allison back? She said
No,
she sent email said she's having difficulty logging on.
yeah, she's not in yet. All right, Massa, can you hear me?
So I could take my earphone, right?
All right, she's still trying to figure out things. I'll come back to her. Uh, I'll come back to her once she's situated. This is Beatrice Kanga Gray. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello,
Yeah.
Alfonso.
Hi, Miss Gray. Good to see you in
Thank you.
person.
Thank you.
Well, good to see you. I'm hoping that Masa can really get situated because uh, I'm not sure if I'll win. Masa, you good now?
So,
Masa, it sounded like ringing the hell.
Yes,
so
I can hear you
Volcano,
guys now. I had to put the EF plug in.
I think the
Okay.
noise is the car
Yeah,
driving.
yeah, driving on the highway. Okay, no problem. Good to see you. Welcome. Masa?
Thank you, Volcano. Thank you, Efan. Yeah, thank you for hosting us as always. Much appreciation.
All right. I know that you're struggling to get the audio because it sounds like you far away and then we gotta wait for pauses before you can hear what we're saying. Are you hearing me clearly? Just to set the tune.
Yes, yes,
Okay, okay, then good, then good.
yes,
I know that,
yes.
but there will be some places where we feel because you're driving, sometimes signal connectivity can come, you know. But it's good that you can hear. So let me go quick and bring in Isaac. He just joined us. Isaac, we want to just test quickly. Are you good?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, you are good. Welcome to the show. We haven't officially started. We're just trying to get Masa situated because she's driving.
Okay.
Yeah, so good to see you. Good to see Beatrice and good to see Masa. So Alfonso, I know that I forgot to send you the stuff, but we will be discussing an initiative. This organization was founded by Masa, and she brought some of her female colleagues on board. And I see Isaac, and she says a collaboration or partnership with the University of Liberia Alumni Association here in the U.S. Um, the organization is called Liberian Women Advocacy to End Violence in Liberia. So we'll go to Masa as the founder. Uh, none of the folks here are new to social media, but just just 2 minutes, just say who you are, what's your role in the organization, and then we'll kick off. So let's start with the founder. Okay, she seems to be frozen again. Let's start with Beatrice. Masa, can you hear me? All right, it's going to be a long night. You can hear me? I told you, once you're
Yeah, she's having
driving,
problem.
yeah, once you're driving, the signal will fall. Just talk a little bit, uh, uh, Mrs. Gray, about the organization.
Well, again, thank you for having me. The Liberian Women Advocacy to End the Violence was actually initiated or funded by Massa Washington, and this came about when, as you know, in Liberia, there's a lot of violence against women, girls, even boys or men. So, understanding that there are a whole lot of advocacy group who are doing different work in advocacy in that area, we decided that they needed more help, additional help. So, um, this group was founded to assist in that, and we had a different approach on that. And the approach was to actually find solution and in a way where we can gather everybody, even the government, and have recommendations and talk to the government about what can we do, what is the solution, what are those things that we can do, be it creating laws, or going and talking to those lawmakers and actually engaging. So those are some of the reasons why this group was founded. And it's a new group, of course, and it covers violence as a whole. So, as the topic we're going to be discussing today, you will see that violence is not just physical, it's not just sexual, it's also verbal. So, those are some of the things that we're going to be discussing. It's a challenge to talk about violence and eliminating violence, but the conversation will be, how can we do it? What if we did certain things? What will happen? So that's the goal. That's the goal of the organization, and that's the goal of what we are going to be discussing tonight and the event that we are going to be hosting this weekend.
Thank you. And your role in the organization?
Um, I, I, I think I wear many hats, but I do some research. I do the research and research manager, I would say.
Okay. Okay. So that's how we're trying to get the formation, and we know that you're the founder accordingly. And you want to tell us quickly, you know, what came to mind before Alfonso comes in? What came to mind when you thought about this initiative?
Well, initially when listening to how Liberians communicate and seeing the poor manner of communication amongst Liberians, and basically on social media. Those of us who are active on social media, we see how people tend to not have patience with the way they communicate, and people want to communicate without using facts. People get frustrated easily when they're not getting across, and you see people insulting people back and forth all over the place. It was actually an exchange of poor communication between two siblings that really brought it home for me. I'm watching this exchange on Facebook. Two siblings, I'm not going to call their name and the sex, but two siblings, one supports one camp and the other support another camp. And then they were at each other. And there were all this, vulgarity that people were using back and forth on each other. Two siblings from one mind, one part. So when I watched that exchange, I reached out to each of them individually to try to mitigate the issue. But it was just really shocking that our national discourse would degenerate so much to the extent that even siblings, people who share DNA, will resort to insulting and demeaning each other in public on Facebook. And I discussed it with the rest of my team B and the rest of them. And I said, look, we need to pay attention to verbal violence, because when you communicate with people and when the communication is poor, and when the communication tend to demean other people and bring them down, that's verbal violence. And what we're not paying attention to is that physical violence does not happen in isolation. Most of the time, physical violence happens because you have other forms of violence, for example, verbal violence, psychological violence, and mental violence that have been happening over time, but unchecked, that people have not addressed. And then one day it just simmers to the top, and then, it erupts, and you have physical violence. A lot of physical violence do not happen, in isolation. It comes from somewhere. So when I saw that exchange on Facebook, I said to myself, no, we need to start doing something about, helping the community and helping each other to improve our communication. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to support my opinion or my viewpoints to respect me, as a person, or to just be still. Even if you don't respect me, you have no right to just, insult people and degenerate the conversation. So for Kenna, it was actually that the exchange amongst the siblings that really, really brought it home for me. I'm like, oh my God. So after the election, people would no longer be family. We would no longer be friends. I mean, the Liberian population is so small, only 5 million, you know?
So, Alfonso?
Yeah, I think this is a very important topic, definitely. So both the idea of forming the organization and also the idea and the topic of this discussion for this weekend, I think are really great. They really captured the problem in our country, and I hope it goes far in terms of addressing the issues. I think Mrs. Kanga Gray and Ms. Washington really addressed the issue. Ms. Kanga Gray addressed it from the point of view of the Liberian Women Advocacy to end violence, and Massa addressed it from the point of view of the background, but also of the event that's going on this weekend. And of course, we have Mr. Isaac Smith here, who's collaborating with them on that project. So if you like, I can bring him in with my my question. So to three of you, Liberia Women Advocacy to End Violence, and to the Delaware. Is it Delaware chapter? Sorry, I might missed. I don't want to Del
No,
Valley chapter.
no, he's a
Yes,
Del.
DMV. No, he's
the
the DMV.
DMV.
That's
That's what
Maryland,
I'm saying. Is the
DC.
Del Valley chapter, DMV
No,
So
chapter of
no,
Their mother.
Del
no.
Marvels.
DMV is different from Delva.
Okay, so it's
the DMV
DMV.
is the chapter comprising
So
Maryland,
talk about
Washington,
DMV,
D.C.
and then talk about your interest in this whole idea, this whole project of addressing the issue of violence, be it verbal, be it the way we talk to each other, which can be an instigator of violence. So talk about the DMV chapter's role in this. What brought you into this collaboration with the women's organization, and what you intend to do with whatever the outcome is going to be of this conversation this weekend. Will there be a report? Will you be disseminating a report? Will you be reaching out to stakeholders and policymakers?
Thank you very much, Alfonso and Volcano. Thanks for having me and having us on your platform tonight. Um, the DMV is a local chapter of the University of Liberia Alumni Association with membership in Washington, D.C., the state of Maryland, as well as Virginia. And we work to support the university with all of its mission and vision in so many different ways. Our connection with this particular event is so crucial because, as you know, violence does not discriminate. That's the first thing. If it happens to one, it can always happen to any other person. All of us have connection to women and sisters and mothers and daughters. And so it's important that we pay attention to the call to end violence against women in Liberia. But particularly for this topic coming up this weekend, it isn't strange for those of us who are even part of several community organizations. We have seen the level of escalation of verbal violence. Meetings cannot go on without someone bursting out into some vulgarity because they disagree with an opinion of another person. And just like Master said, look, you don't have to agree with what I say. You just need to respect the fact that I think red is better than blue. And if you think otherwise, that's fine enough, you know. But what happens is we use words, phrases, and that kind of demean people. The first thing, if I'm saying something that you don't believe in, you respond by saying it doesn't make any sense. So what you're saying that I'm stupid, it doesn't have to make sense to you. You don't have to agree to what I'm saying, but you just need to respect my opinion. I shared the other time that look, your opinion, your perception is true to you, just as my opinion and perception is true to me, but it's not the universal truth. In other words, what I presume, assume, what I perceive should not be a matter of me making sure that Volcano accepts what I perceive to be right. He can have a different view on it. So we believe that this weekend's event will kind of serve as the basis for generating discussion around the how. How do we end this level of violence, verbal violence? How do we end the level of the escalation of how we engage people? Just speaking to people, and what are the things that we need to do? Because at the end of the day, we are all part of the same processes. We all have the same goals. We are working together for the same purpose, only to find that because we don't agree on a particular aspect of what we're working toward, we should be at loggerheads. So disagreement really doesn't mean disengagement. We need to always learn to find kind of a reason around why you believe the way you believe and why I believe the way I believe. So we are hoping that coming out of this, we have some talking points around the how and use that as a way of educating people in our community, taking the issue as the ladies have on their agenda to places like our lawmakers and seeing what can we do? How can we begin to redefine the way we engage each other in a respectful way that do not degenerate to animosity, divide, and confusion.
So I'm
So
looking
the
here.
discussion, sorry,
Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
wanted to find. So the discussion this weekend will be about finding the how.
Absolutely, absolutely. Detoxifying our our national discourse, and we believe that somewhere in that discussion this weekend, we can identify some of the how do we do this, and then use that as a basis to reach out through some training, educational way, and that's where we come in because as the nation's highest institution, the association and the universities, if we can be involved with anything that will be a form of education and enlightenment, then that is the thing. Those are the things that we want to be helpful to help the university, help the country, and help our people. And so we are glad to be a part of this process with the women organization.
I think this topic aligns with what is trending today in Liberia in the political discourse, where politicians are now at each other's throat. Sympathizers and well-wishers and partisans are chopping each other. People are toting casket with picture depicting death.
Yeah.
So it tells you that we are going nowhere if we can really find reasons to coexist. And even in these kinds of disagreement, we must find agreement. And the image now we see in the political season is not the image of a country that is moving toward real reconciliation. You can see the divide because of politics. But Kanka Gray, I see you nodding. Talk about it a little bit. Share your experience here. We'll go to Masa because I know Masa saw is two siblings arguing to the point where they looked like they were enemies. But the people who want to lead us, who should be our fathers, who should be our mothers, who should be the leaders of the country, are themselves doing these things. How do you reconcile? Because you say what? Children learn from their parents. And so the younger people are seeing what the older people doing. At the end of the day, what difference would it make? You know?
Yeah, so how do you reconcile? That's a very good question. And the topic that we are going to be discussing this weekend, detoxifying our national discourse, I think that's a very big topic. That's a very challenging topic, only because this topic has root. It has deep roots, and I'm glad I said detoxifying, and it's not, so it's something that is going to be continuous, something that needs work. Because I'm saying it has roots because we first have to know who we are and what we are, and accept who and what we are as Liberians. If we accept that, then we will learn to live with one another. We will learn to at least understand one another where we're coming from. When someone speak, you have to put that person in your shoe and say, what is the person saying? How can I understand what the person is saying? And those are things that we have to look at, because if we don't understand who we are, if we cannot accept to live amongst one another, so the goal, I mean, then the core is to denigrate, to humiliate, to dehumanize. And it's like a norm now. It's like it goes on. Everybody is on edge. Why is it that everybody's on edge? What's going on? Is it post-war or is it historic? And those are some of the questions that we're going to be asking. Those are some of the things that we're going to be looking deep into. Because in order to solve this problem or to cure this, you got to take it from the root. You can't just do it on the surface, because then you're going to be putting lipstick on the pig. You got to take it. You got to take it from the roots, and that's the core of it. Who are we? Who are we? Can we respect one another? Can we love one another? We are Liberians. If we understand that, and I approach my fellow Liberians, I would say this person is a part of me. This person is a Liberian. I was listening to a Nigerian, I think the Nigerian leader, he had a speech it was going over on Facebook, and I was listening to it, and he said, how can Africans unite? How can we look at one another and say, this is my brother and this is my sister? You know, because we are taught, colonialism has taught us that, you know, we are not good enough. We are not good people. We don't love one another. We are not good enough. And for some reason, for many, many years, that had ingrained into some of us, so that when we see one another, we look at one another differently. And those are things that we have to learn. We are the same people. We are Liberians, you know, we are Liberians. And biblically, we are of one body, you know. We are of one body. If you approach somebody and the first thing you look at is that, and you think of a person as a higher person, or you on the person on the same level, and you are one, then we would learn from there, you know, and know how to communicate from there. But the first thing is to be so defensive and be so, you know, when you look at a person and say, oh, this person is not good enough. We do that a lot. Who are you? Oh, you are nobody. We use those kind of words. Everybody do not have the same economic background. Everybody do not. It's impossible. But we are human beings. We need to be respected. If we all understand that, and I think we're going to go somewhere. But if we do not, then it's going to be continuous.
So, very important point. I think before you come in, Massa, I see you clamoring to take on that topic. I wanted to, you know, ask a question that maybe you can frame it. Ms. Gray, you talk about addressing the roots, which I think is really, really important and very critical here. So my question is, where do you all believe this whole problem of toxicity in our discourse is coming from? I mean, is it cultural? Is based upon, you know, our culture as a people? Is it a result of years of civil war without, you know, after the war, nobody went through any form of, you know, mental, whatever, rehabilitation?
No,
Or
detoxification.
yeah, it's a failure.
No one went through this detoxification.
We were not detoxified.
Yeah.
Is it a failure of our education system? Massa, I'm adding this because you said earlier that people say things without facts, and they don't even bother to prove what they're saying. They just say it and they just stick to it, and that's it. And that bothers me too. And then, or is it years of political division? People just think having different views means that the next person who disagrees with you is an enemy, or is it all of them put together?
So let me unmute myself because our driving was kind of providing.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Massa.
No, Volcano, I'm killing you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to cultural, our cultural background, belief, upbringing is a little bit of that is influencing all this negativity. But I think the overarching issue here is the breakdown in our social structure since the 1980 coup. And I say the 1980 coup because we saw some behavior that were very foreign to us, that were not part of the standard behavior of the way we engage each other and the way we treated each other as human beings. And then also the war just completely destroyed Liberia in terms of every facet of the society. And morally, socially, the family structure, the community structure, everything was just completely destroyed. And like B said, people have not been rehabilitated. Some people don't think they need to be rehabilitated, and you know, so we have this problem on our hands. But whether we like it or not, we need to understand that as long as we exist as a people, and then especially as Liberians, a small country like that, where everybody is interrelated, we will continue to perform one of the primary activities of life, which is communication. We will continue to communicate with each other. And so we want to ask ourselves, how Are we communicating? Are we communicating respectfully? Are we tolerant and considerate of other people when they communicate? So even if we don't understand what what they're saying, even if we don't think the construct suits us or serves our construct or narrative, do they have those basic human rights that we all have and we like to boast about, that we are so that we jealously guide? Do other people have those basic human rights? Do we have the right to demean someone in a conversation just discussing issues? So, Alfonso, coming back to your question, yes, sometimes tribal culture play a major role. Like, for example, sometimes we see the way, and I'm not trying to be a feminist here. I'm a feminist, but that's not the issue of this discussion. But it plays a major role. Sometimes, even when you're having these discussions, and whether they're in professional settings or not, or maybe just conversation on like social media, you will see sometimes the way a male will respond to a woman so harshly and so matter of factly, as compared to the way he will respond to another male colleague who might say something that maybe he didn't like. It's completely different. It's like night and day. With the women, they calm down very hard. They will use strong words. The disrespectful. It's like, how dare you? We're discussing here. We the men, we are discussing. How dare you come and say something? And especially if that woman is someone like me, of my character, who is fearless, who will engage you. I don't see sex here. They want to use the most hurtful words to shut you up, to put you down, because no matter what, they don't think you're the equal. Some culture, like that. The woman is supposed to be quiet. She's not supposed to be heard. She's not supposed to speak until she's referenced, and those kinds of things. So sometimes people grow up in these settings, and even though they went to school and sometimes they become urbanized, but they still have those things and those tenets that they maintain. And then also the issue with the war. The worst has happened to Liberians in the war. People saw people raping, their mothers. They saw people completely debasing the men, destroying the family structure, giving young boys drugs, child molestation. All these things happen, and nothing happened. No one has been held accountable in Liberia for all these things that have happened. So people now think that, well, I can do anything. I can insult anybody anytime. There's no respect for elders. During the war, the rebels will say, oh, Papa will respect you, Oma will respect you, but take out your pants or strip the person naked and humiliate them. And people still do that, indirectly on Facebook. They're not telling you, we respect you, but take out your pants. They're simply telling you how you're stupid, how you idiotic. In fact, just yesterday, someone told me I was raising a concern, and this person disrespected me on my page and my own post. So I said to him, you're not going to come here and be disrespectful today. And he came and said, oh, you got feelings about this? Climb on top of the roof and fall down and die, literally. And this person is a major member of a major political party. And the scary thing for people like me is say, oh my God, they have so many of these kinds of toxic men who do not know how to communicate. And this guy, if his party wins the election, this guy is going to be a serious one of the leaders of Liberia. It's scary. It's scary. So all of those things, all of the above, Alfonso, when you ask the question, it's all of the above. But I think the destruction and the events of the war has contributed more than any other time, this extremely toxic or communication and toxic environment that we found ourselves in. I think the war just took it off the roof.
Yeah, and Alfonso, if I can just add, I would agree that it's a combination of everything that you asked. There was a time in our history. There was a time when women were respected. We gave credence to women. Sometimes, if you even attempted to say something negative to a lady, you were often thinking that what is said It's also said to your mother, it's said to your daughter, to your sister, and those things kind of held men back from saying certain things. So even if you said it to a woman, she would tell you, "You're not talking to me, you're talking to your mind." And that was, I mean, it guided a lot of people in their action. But the war, what the war did that has really, really affected our whole social fabric is the fact that all of us were traumatized by all of the things that we saw and experienced. And there was never a period of de-traumatization for many, many people. I can tell you for sure that 1997, I came to the US to go to school. I was in North Carolina in in a place called um, uh, 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 um, we're in the western part of North Carolina in school where they had a hunting season. And I did not know it was the hunting season. I was walking from the main campus to the dormitory when the people started to shoot. I had just come from Liberia. I was in the war from the beginning of the 1997. When I heard the bullet sound, I dropped to the ground and rolled. And all these people came running to me, running. Oh, what happened? What happened? Then I realized that, oh, I'm not in Liberia. Just hearing the bullet sound, I dropped and rolled. And then I actually lied. I said, I just tripped over the stump, but I'm all right. I didn't want to. But I'm just saying that um, de-traumatization never occurred. People are traumatized. It has affected people. It has caused some strain, some stress on people to the point that people are so angry over little or nothing. No value, no substance to be the basis for it. If I said something that you don't understand, and we have several examples that we can give. Recently, on one of those platforms, someone wrote something, and this guy went up and started to lash. He did not understand where the person wrote and where they came from. And then what will happen is someone else will come to support what this person wrote, and someone else will come. And that's the real danger, because now I believe in Volcano. So what he said, I go to support Volcano, and I lash at Alphonso, and then someone who believes in Alphonso can lash at me. And so we just going and we remove our focus from the issue to now personality, and we start going forward. So I took the phone, I called the guy, I said, do you know why he said what he said? And after I spoke to him, guess what he told me? Oh, but I didn't see it from that point. My question to him was, then why didn't you pick up the phone and call him and find out what do you mean by this before you went to respond in the way that you did? So you see, it's all about courtesy, respect, not understanding. We want to interpret things the way we see them and without any clarity. And then we get to the point where we actually think we need to bring somebody down to make ourselves feel good. So, I mean, it's just so bad. I don't know where this is going to lead us if we continue as a people, but I know it's not good for our nation. It's happening. You look in Liberia, you see situation right in the House of Representatives, the lawmakers. They cannot have a decent civic conversation on an issue. It worse than the people in the marketplaces. Oh no, you crazy, you stupid. No, you will not do this. So if these things are happening at that level, think about, and as I said it, the children are listening, the younger people are listening. Look in the university campus, students who are supposed to be in school, you're supposed to be learning, but you are the one standing and you demanding the people who should be instructing you to do this thing. It will not happen. We are the vanguard. Those kind of high, strong statements. I'm supposed to be teaching you. I'm supposed to be empowering you to be a better person, but you don't have the respect enough to engage me in a way that reflects who I am to you. But you want to be demanding, you want to be instructive, and so it's permeating throughout our society, through our culture, in Liberia, here in the US, and everywhere. And we really, really hope that at some point we can begin to find some answers that would be the basis for generating discussion around how we can solve this problem.
So, Madam Kanga Gray, just thinking about this feat, to end, the word end is to eliminate, is to eradicate, is to stop violence, right? You're doing the research accordingly. What is the research telling you now? To what extent Liberia is in a downward spiral with detoxification? To what extent, and how soon you think you'll be able to accomplish something out of this organization, especially in detoxifying our people at all levels. It's not just the conversational piece. You're looking at the engagement piece. You're looking at the interactional piece. All of these pieces come together to make us reconciliatory, right? So, what is the research telling you?
I think the research, I mean, what is happening now is that what Liberia was post-war is Liberia is now different, and if we're talking about values and morals and all of those things, but the fabric has already been broken down. All of those things are broken down, and that's why we're saying we have to talk about this because when we grew up, the Liberia I grew up in before the war, there were discipline. We were disciplined in homes. We had the opportunity to grow up with two parents or a parent, a grandfather, grandparents. You know, at least we had the opportunity. But kids who during the war who were running away or drugged up and fighting wars and even killing their own parents, you know, and with that kind of trauma, they literally raised themselves. So they did not have the opportunity to have those morals and values that we're talking about that we were taught. They did not have the opportunity. So they kept running and kept killing and kept running. And they were traumatized, right? And there were no rehabilitation. So this is going on, and it became so bad. So that the people that you're seeing in the House of Legislature, those are some of the people who, I mean, they were young during the war, running away and not being disciplined. I know my father, he used to whip me a lot. If I disrespect an elderly people, I'm getting like 5 latches in my hand. Some of these kids didn't have the opportunity to be disciplined. I grew up in a religious family where 7 days a week it was the Bible study, and team time quiz, and all of these things. You know, Camp Lawana, you go into Bible camp, or even if you're Muslim, you had the opportunity to go to these different religious events, and those things build the morals and the values. But it's all broken down, even on the cultural front. You know, we're talking about tribalism. We're not even looking at tribalism anymore as a beautiful fabric. We're looking at it as a divided fabric, as a fabric that's had all holes in it. Oh, you're this person, you're crown, and you're bassa, and you're this. And when we speak about that, we don't speak about it as a way of embracing it. We speak about it as a way of detaching ourselves from it. So how do we come back to that? So it doesn't matter what the statistics say. If you look at it, it's even worse now than before. So what do? We have to bring back all of that. We have to build the mosaic, this beautiful mosaic that Liberia has, that Liberia is. If we all look at it as that, and only to build it is a mat. How do we put this mat back together? How do we do it? I think, and that should be the conversation. It should be deeper than, I mean, if we build that from the root, then things like, you know, Marcos and all those things will be eliminated. We have to fix it from the root. Who are we?
So what do we do with Prophet Key? what do we do with Yaka Koluba?
Yes, but the conversation will go
because
on.
these are considered icons in their own rights, and they're so vocal out there. And how do we deal with that?
They are human beings, and they were learned.
Look, that can be one of
People
our
keep
groups.
learning, and they will learn,
For
and they will
sure.
understand. And again, it comes that the fish gets rotten from the head. So if we have a government, and have a leader, and the leader is fostering these things and saying this is what we need to do, and the leader is an exemplary leader, you know, and going about that, I think people will follow through as well.
Sure.
you know. And if that is spread out in all the counties, if you have commissioners and people going out in all these counties and saying this is what we're going to be doing, and somebody in the leadership focus on that. I mean, when we talk about Liberia, we talk about economics and we talk about healthcare, but this is killing Liberia as well, and it could cause even more problem than we even think. So I think we should put that fabric back together. I think that's what we should do.
Alphonso.
Yep, yep. We do need to work on
Yeah.
a cultural shift. Um, uh, we may not be able to do a lot with the likes of Yaka Collison or Prophet Key or so, but we can begin from somewhere. Um, um, in our school system, for example, we can reintroduce the whole concept of civic education and start teaching from the very beginning. Some of the things that helped us as we grew up. Uh, uh, Beatrice said it. I went to school with many people. We interacted on all levels. I never knew the tribe they came from. Never knew the tribe. As a matter of fact, when they walked in before, I got to know some people were belonging to a certain tribe. But tribe was never an
An
issue
issue.
in our
Yeah.
growing up. So we need to get back to that place where we can begin to introduce some of those things that guided our thoughts along the way. Lawana Bible was being taught in school. We learned that if you did harm to your brother, there was a consequence. So even if it was not real or true, but just learning that every time you thought to do something wrong, you thought about the consequence because you read it somewhere. And all those things kind of help to build your moral, your acceptability of other people, your respect for other people, and understanding that every life values so much that you don't want to harm somebody. So one of the places we can get to our national leaders, get to our educational leaders, and see how can we begin to introduce this whole culture of respect in our school system. So if we cannot deal with this now generation, perhaps the generation after us, learning something from kindergarten to sixth grade and through high school, they make a difference. But we need to start from somewhere.
So
Alphonso.
as you three were talking, there's something, two key things came to mind. Violence against women, which has to do with rape and the lack of accountability, the high rising rate of violence against women. Rape is one of them. Just, being able to beat your girlfriend or your wife, and then the police come and say, oh, that boyfriend, girlfriend, better man, leave that thing, let's go. Or that a man be your own way, what, nothing spot, nothing wrong with that. Those kinds of things. And then so violence against women generally. And then the other thing, as you are talking about, the high degree of toxicity in our national discourse, I'm led to think about how that could impact the upcoming elections and national peace as a whole. Can you speak to those?
Let's start with Masa.
Okay, Alfonso, go back to that portion of the question where you
Yeah,
ask, are you asking how do these
yeah. So
behavior or how are
yeah,
they going to affect the
Yeah,
upcoming national elections?
yeah, and
so
national
there's
peace.
the
I mean,
one issue
I mean,
of violence
obviously,
against women. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Maza.
yes. Okay. Actually, you Volcano started by, you know, calling our attention. I mean, asking us what are we going to do about, these now prominent individuals, in our society, who, you know, do nothing but man cuts, woman cuts, all those kind of stuff. And Alfonso, many of these such individuals are running for public office. And the fear here is because of the very issues that we're discussing and the very point that we're making, many of them, I fear, will end up in public office, will either maintain their offices or new ones will be voted in. It's because, Alfonso, you said it right. So we had this devastating 14 years of civil war where the most heinous of crimes imaginable took place. And there's been zero accountability in Liberia against these people who committed these heinous crimes. For example, 70% of women were raped during the war. That's the United Nations stats. 70% of women were raped during the war. And we had around 7,500 to 8,000 child soldiers. So those child soldiers, those young boys who were child soldiers then, who were young, who were 8, 9, 7, 13, 16 years old, they are the ones who are voting now. They are the ones who are voting now. So they grew up in this extreme violent era. And the people that are voting into office now are people who were their, of course, abusers, perpetrators, turned co-parents and saviors. Like, people will go and raid someone's entire community, kill his entire family, and the kid is maybe 7 years old, takes him and says, let's go, you will be my son, you will be my small soldier. And this kid grows up with this perpetrator who destroyed his entire family. But, you know, there's something called the attachment theory. Those of you who are into psychology and social work, you know what it is, the Stockholm syndrome. So these you know, young people grow up in this environment, and today they find it difficult psychologically to break away. But Alphonso, I think it was Alphonso asked about statistics, or was it what his name, Volcano?
I did.
Yeah, but let's just, yeah, you did Volcano. But let's just say this: during the war, a little boy, 11, 12 years old, you know, could rape a woman his mother's age. In fact, the situation was so degenerate that fighters forced young boys to follow their mother right in the presence of, you know, family members and the community. So all of this happened. What it did was it completely destroyed the innocence of those young boys, but then it also instilled in them that false invincibility, you know, that false attitude of invincibility. You know, oh, I'm man now, I could do this, I could do that, and nothing came out of it. So Dave, I'm not saying that, you know, all of them are, but majority of them are engaging in those copycats of violence and crimes that happened before during the war, and nothing happened now. Just in 2020 alone, the Liberian demographic survey reports that of 2,240 cases of sexual and gender-based violence that was reported nationwide all through Liberia in 2020, that was just 3 years ago, rape alone accounted for 80% of sexual and gender-based violence. And 60% of women between the ages 15 to 49 experience physical violence, according to the Liberian Demographic and Health Survey. And 16% of those sexual and gender-based violence that were reported were domestic violence. Okay, so you see how the violence against women that was so prolific during the war, they have now transferred in this post-war era, in this time when we're discussing peace, when we're trying to bring back sanity to the society, when we're trying to be among the community of civilized nations again, we are still confronted with these things. And just last year alone, ritualistic killing, just from 2020 to 2022, just 2 years, okay? It was reported that 30 persons died, victims of acts of violence, either ritualistic killing or somebody killed them, but you know, the public knew their assailant and stuff like that. 30 persons in 2 years, and these were all open cases, window cases. And I think out of those 30 cases, only 4 were brought to conclusion. They were able to arrest 2 individuals that are in jail, and the other 2 were undergoing interrogation whatsoever, and there was no feedback. The authorities did not come back to the public to say, you know, these are the conclusions of those investigation or whatever. Nothing, zero. You know, nothing. Nothing happens. So that culture of impunity is also helping in the exacerbating the way we communicate with each other. You know, a lot of our people are just angry over a lot of things, angry over the way somebody was. Volcano, you were talking about these people being in public office all these years. Some of us were teenagers. Some of us were teenagers. Today we are male age people, and our entire lives were taken away from us by people who were completely nonsensical, not carrying the country nowhere. Today, we are claiming that hill in terms of our age and whatnot. And there has been no resolution of those things that we've been fighting for since we were young, since we were teenagers. Volcano, you rightly alluded to that. So, but we cannot give up hope. We need to continue. And one of the quickest and easier way to transform a society is to change, by transforming and changing minds and attitude. Like, for example, this is why now we're having this town hall discussion about toxic communication, the way we communicate.
And we'll
So
come to that.
if people can start.
We'll come to that. Let's just go quick to information. If you just joining us, welcome to the 179th broadcast of the Issues Room here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. We encourage you to share the link. This is a great topic. You want to be a part of this conversation because it impacts reconciliation. It impacts the way we are looked at as a people of the first African country to gain independence on the continent. So we want to be seen differently as we go through our national elections, crossing to the other side of new leadership, old leadership, whatever it is. But we hope that we can really be engaging, we're able to communicate effectively, and we're asking you to share the link, invite others here to join us. The panel here includes Ms. Marcel Emilio Washington, a former TRC commissioner in Liberia. She is the founder of this organization called Liberian Women Advocacy to End Violence in Liberia. The person who is helping with research and other things is Mrs. Beatrice Kanga Gray. And if you look on the far end, Isaac Smith is the president of the DMV chapter of the University of Liberia Alumni Association, ULIBAAA. And they're partnershiping with the organization to kind of disseminate positive message across this initiative. And the theme, of course, detoxifying our national discourse, is the topic that they're looking at. They're going to be gathered tomorrow in Beltsville, Maryland, and it will be at the Beltsville Community Center around 3 p.m. So let's talk about the program itself, the town hall you're talking about. I know there's a movie called Camp 72nd. We'll come to that. But let's talk about just the town hall. Who are some of the speakers? What the town hall looks like? Who will be panelists, if there will be panelists or there will be speakers? What are some of the topics, subtopics on the detoxification of our national discourse? Who's going to go?
B, Mrs. Gray?
Yes.
So you want to go?
Oh, of course, the topic is detoxifying our national discourse, and I'm sure with the panelists that we have, I'm sure that there will be subtopics that would come from that. And the audience, we are anticipating that the audience will have time. It will be a time of engagement where the audience will be asking questions, will be asking the panelists those questions. And I have the panelists. We have Reverend Suad Dedet. He's going to be the moderator, and then we have Jackie Saye. She also the keynote speaker. She's from Cornell University, the general secretary, and she's going to be the keynote speaker. We have our own brother is Smith, who's going to be the master ceremony for the program. We have Welma Meshinini Red. She is on the panel. She's one of the panelists. We have Rochelle. Masa, help me with these names. Ish Chesson. He's gonna be on the panel. We have Dr. Valet Clinton. He's gonna be on the panel. We have our own Masa Washington. She's gonna be on the panel, and we have Reverend Dr. J. Edwin Lord Jr. He's also gonna be on the panel. So it's gonna be a very good, you know, time to engage into this topic. And I think there will be recommendations that will come from there. And those recommendations, we are anticipating sending those recommendations to our incoming government. This is something that is going to be ongoing. And we got to make sure that, you know, we talk about this and bring Liberia back to a better nation. You know, having built and building a nation is not just building its economic, you know, health system and educational system. If the mind is sick, if the nation is sick, then those things cannot work. So we have to first heal the soul of the nation, and it starts from here. And I think the hope here is that beside this engagement, we're going to recommend that, you know, those of you who are in, you know, the media airways, you know, help us, because people are listening to you guys. You have audience. You have, you know, every day, tons and tons of people listen. And if we can, you know, help come together to do this, I think it's going to be a good thing to do for the nation and for the world at large. You know, I have an example. The issue room had they had a discussion some months back. It was just when the presidential candidates were in motion to pick their vice dinner bearer, and I think the UP candidate has picked his vice dinner bearer, and they had this discussion that those who weren't picked did not elect to go to the ceremony, and there was some information that came across, and I felt that the information was presumptive. So I wrote in the comment section and I said, this information is mistaken. And the issue room gave me the opportunity. When I called in, Volcano can attest to that. He gave me some time to actually understand where I was coming from. And I had the opportunity to explain to him. And I said, this is why this happened. This is why the person did not attend, you know, and it was understood. But I'm just saying this because he had the opportunity, he gave me the opportunity to listen to me. So this is what we're talking about. If you don't understand what the person is saying, give the person that time. Hear the person out, listen to the person, and then you will learn from there, or you will understand where the person is coming from. Had I gone into the comment section and said, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, what you think you are, you know, it would have been a different conversation. But he heard me when I called him, and I think there was another guy who was on the panel that day.
Moses Sandy. I think Alphonso was here too.
Yeah. And I called in, and I was given the opportunity, and it was my first time calling in. And
we had to detoxify, okay?
and we did detoxify. We did detoxify, and that's what we're talking about. And so I really appreciate it. And this is my example. You know, this is a very good example, and I'm going to carry that out even to some of these talk shows. You know, because sometimes people get really, really, you know, toxified.
Yeah. Like that. Alfonso.
Yeah, no, you're correct. And if you're on the panel tomorrow, this will be a very good example of, hey, the issues room, you know, we detoxify everybody.
It's a place you can get detoxified.
I'm kidding, but I think as you guys were talking again, I kept really thinking very hard about how we address this situation, which I think is really, really critical, because it impacts every aspect of life. But to accomplish what you guys want to accomplish, we have to bring, and I think you all said it, we have to bring a lot of our institutions, critical institutions, to bear. So I think, first of all, it's really admirable that you've engaged with the University of Liberia Alumni Association, because the university is really a place for these kinds of research around these issues that impacting society to be investigated and for solutions to be found. I'm not sure the university has played that role um, a lot on really the issues confronting the country. So, Isaac, I want to come to you with this question. Um, is there a thought that somehow the University of Liberia, through you or through the larger alumni association, would be brought to bear with all of its resources to begin to research? I was listening to somebody the other day who said, look, in our disarmament stuff, all we did was we brought the children who fought the war, we took the guns from them, we gave them $20 and said, go home. We did nothing.
Yeah.
And so they went home, and this is what we have. We have zogos, we have crimes, we have people insulting each other, nobody listening to anybody. And I think that's what you guys are trying to do. Is there a plan for the University of Liberia to be brought on board on this very critical national issue, to begin to do research, to identify, to help you out, to help Mrs. Gray in the research portfolio, in really doing research, identifying the issues, identifying the problems, identifying solutions? When I look at research and data, Massa was quoting, none of it is out of Liberia. None of it is out of it. None of it is out of the University of Liberia. None of it is out of our social institutions.
Mhm.
That's so. My question is, what is the plan to bring the nation's highest institution of learning on board to help us address these challenges?
And just
So,
before you come in, Isaac, and I think the point here, we have professors, people who are professors, and yet they're not creating the data internally, like Alfonso is saying. But the other thing is, if the university is on board, you'll be able to design courses, because we hear you're doing sociology. We hear now psychology has been introduced. So what are you going to be teaching? The American psychology, or you should be teaching the Liberian psychology or the Liberian sociology? So I just wanted to throw that in as you contemplate your answers.
Yeah, so thank you very much. I don't think the involvement of the University of Liberia Alumni Association in partnership to host this program was a mistake. I think it's, if I should just say, it's divine and will be a basis for giving the association the tool that they need to aggressively engage the university itself on matters like these, and finding ways by which they can challenge the university to get involved. The university respects the association. They believe in what we stand for, and our goal is to support education, to support the mission, to support the vision of the university. And I think when you have these level of support base, then it is incumbent upon you to listen to what they have to share when it comes to how you can be even more, um, not only visible, but more impactful on the national scene. So, to answer your question in a very brief way, is I don't know what the university intention is, but I can sure tell you that this engagement and from how it is emerging can be a tool that the association can now use, because we believe in this particular mission. We believe in this particular vision that we are a part of. How can we move it to another level? How can we get the university to be involved? So again, we will use the results of this weekend's activity to share with the national leadership team in the form of recommendation as to some of the things that we can do, or engage the university to challenge the university, so that we can begin to look in the direction of how we can use all of our resources to start the whole process of researching, finding answers, developing courses around the things that impact the university. We have the know-how. I can tell you, one of the members of this women group is an educator. She's a curriculum developer, and part of the discussion that we are holding is how can we move all these discussions and the results from these discussions into the form of curriculum that can benefit the country Liberia, and where do we start from? So in a nutshell, Um, we can, and we hope that we can use this as the basis to generate that level of engagement to move the university to doing these type of things, because we support this wholeheartedly, and we think this is one of the reasons and one of the ways by which we can help the country, not just the university, but help the country. If we can start looking into developing those different programs, those different educational agendas that will help to change the mind, change the direction, change the focus, and change the, that whole social attitude of the Liberian people.
So, Masa, I was looking here and I kind of realized the organization was established in 2002. Is that for real?
Yes.
So what have you been doing since 2002? Because from the feel of things, it looks like you just woke up with all of the toxification going on now. So what have you been doing? And I see you have a 501c3 status and all of that. So what has been going on since?
Okay. We were actually launched last year, August, and the first 6 months were spent on structure. So our organization, we wanted to make sure that it was not going to resemble one of those fly-by-night organization, or an organization that someone has in their basement just from behind a computer. We wanted to make sure it was a serious organization. So the first 6 months were spent on establishing structure, getting our registration, getting proper stationery, getting our 501c3, and all of that. And we have our first major event, which was our symposium last year, September. So for an organization that just started, we actually started putting our organization together last year, May, late April, May. By September, we have had
2002 doing in the letter sent to me. The letter says here it was established in 2002 as a call to action. So I'm trying
but
to
last year was 2002. Volcano, you in 2003. It's just 1 year, 12 months.
No, we're in 2023, not 2003.
So it could have been 2022.
Okay. Oh, you know what? That was that was typo. Oh, I see where you're coming from.
So
yeah, that was typo. We meant 2022, not
okay.
We meant 2022. But it said 2022.
No, man.
2002.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It was 2022. So we started last year, 2022, or May, and we had our first major event, which was a symposium in November. And we came on your show. You helped to launch us. You hosted us, and so this is our second event. What we want to do now is we realize that Liberians, the overall majority of Liberians are seemingly more vested in the political aspect of Liberia's life, or Liberians' life, and which is not really bad. But the thing is, people get sucked up in the politics so much until they forget to focus on those social issues that actually influence the politics, the political decisions, the actors who get to be our leaders. And so we want to, our group is non-political, so we want to focus more on those social issues, like what we're discussing here, the detoxifying of our national discourse, our communication manner, the way we speak to people, the way we dehumanize each other, sometimes subconsciously, sometimes intentionally. So we want to focus more on social issues. And you asked the question about our name, and I think you kind of figure it might be a Herculean task when we say Liberian Women Advocacy to end the violence in Liberia. Now, we came up with that name because we didn't want to say Liberian Women Advocacy to end some of the violence, So it was a little bit of a tricky issue there. So ending the violence, we know it's impossible to end violence in the whole world, but we're looking at least where we will not have the kinds of violence, the number of violence that is being perpetrated in Liberia. Like, for example, post-war, or let's say even again, I keep referring to it because I grew up in those eras. When we were growing up in the mid 70s, in the late 70s, in the early 80s, we didn't experience violence like that. I mean, it was difficult to see one body on the street, and maybe maybe it would have been one of those people who have mental health issue, and maybe they die on the street, and the police was not there enough to. But we didn't see any of those things. But now it is so common. So that innocence was taken away from the Liberian people and the public. Now I just want to buttress quickly what my colleague Mrs. Kanga Grace said about some of our speakers tomorrow. So we have our keynote speaker, Ms. Jackie Sayer. Jackie is actually the General Secretary for the Liberian Studies Department at Cornell University. She also teaches at Cornell. And so she's the keynote speaker, but we'll have two other speakers. Mr. Charles Ebu King, he's one of the speakers. And then we have Dr. John T. Wulu, who is a statistician and adjunct professor at the University of Maryland Global Campus. He's the second guest speaker, of course. And then we have, of course, all the panelists. The guy's name is Ruchel Chessing. Ruchel. Yeah, so that's his name. And then, of course, we will have brief remarks by some community leaders as well. So we have Dr. Maurice Kofa, who is an environmentalist. He's going to be making brief remarks, and we'll have Mr. Churchill Cassell, who's going to be making brief remarks, Mr. Ligori Seka Jibo, and also Mr. Amakwe Undu Adigibi. They are community leaders, and they will be making a brief remark, like maybe 1 minute or 2 minutes each. So we try to be as inclusive as possible. We want an interaction section with the public. So we're going to have all these different people playing role, but then we're going to have the general public itself. And one of our members, Miss Nee Allison, who is our chairman on operations, she's going to be engaging the public with the microphone. So she's going to be going into the audience and helping them with the microphone to make their own points and their contribution to the program, or ask questions that they would like for the panel to answer. So yeah, it's going to be really interactive. Already is picking up steam, and thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank you. And if Nia is listening, she can call 404 just to have some kind of presence here tonight, and she can come in by audio since she's having difficulty to come in the studio. But we got at least another 10 minutes to go to wrap up this conversation. And I know Alphonso wants to come in, but let's talk quickly before he comes in about Camp 72nd, the screening of the movie Camp 72nd. Who made this movie? What is it about? And is it going to be screened tomorrow?
Yes, Camp 72nd is a movie about Liberia. It's actually a documentary. I have a copy of it. I've seen it twice. It was produced by Sima Matar. She's an Indian journalist and also a movie producer. She's won several awards at Cannes Festival Awards for movies production. So she took interest in Liberia, and she came to Liberia when I was on the TRC. She met with me, and in this movie she actually tracked the story of a young girl who what happened to her in the war. Her mother was killed, and her twin brothers were separated from her. And so Sima tracked her story from what happened to her during the war, and then after, how she was able to, through her strength and resilience, she was able to reunite with her brothers who were taken away by fighters and given to strange people, and then they were child soldiers. So she was able to unite her twin brothers, and she's been able to pick up her life and try to move on. She now has a family of her own. She's married, or she has a fiancé, and she's having children now. And when she went to computer school, and she would love to be a lawyer. But this young girl she came to the TRC and testified. And her story is one of tragedy, of course, because of what happened to her in the war. But it's also a story of hope, of resilience, of finding healing, her own way, the best way that works for her, in the absence of the country doing anything about what has happened to victims. The TRC recommended reparation. They have not done it. TRC recommended memorialization to help people come to closure. The government has not done it. They they're not implementing the war crimes code. Nothing. So to see someone like this young lady, she was only 12 when all of this happened to her. To see her now pick up her life and is moving on in her own way is remarkable. So the movie producer, like I said, she's a friend of mine, and I was able to get a copyright from her to screen this movie. And we're hoping that we will be able to duplicate this project in other communities that have a large Liberian population, so that more and more people get to see this movie and maybe learn some lesson from it as well. So yeah, so Camp 72nd is actually named after a place in Liberia. I think on the Ghana's they have, remember 72nd?
Yeah.
That's that's the place.
It's called Camp Ramrod.
Yeah, it's 72nd. So she lived in that area with her parents before the war. So that area is what the film is named after.
Okay. All right, Alfonso, let's just go around the room so we can wrap
Yeah,
up.
definitely. So real quickly, Masa, I think you addressed the question one of the questions I was going to ask, which is, but I'll still ask it anyway because you're addressing it in a limited way. You're having this event tomorrow in Beltsville, Maryland. You have guest speakers and other people in the room, but my question is, how do we expand this to the larger community, to the larger population, so that more people here and participate in these kinds of discussions and discourses? Because I think what you want to do, based upon what you have said, is you want to reach the Liberian people and change the discourse and detoxify the discourse. So, what's the plan in terms of really just engaging people beyond, these the conversation tomorrow, to get more people involved? Firstly, do you have a mechanism by which people who cannot come to Beltsville tomorrow will be able to participate? Or if not, B, do you have a process by which maybe you do this more often in smaller communities around the United States or even in Liberia, so that you get more people involved and more people begin to know about your effort? Second thing is that to make an impact, policy wise, you might need to engage with policymakers, decision makers, politicians. Have you interacted with any of them already, or are you thinking along those lines?
Okay, Mrs. Kanka Gray answered some of the questions earlier when she stated that we're hoping that these engagements will eventually culminate into maybe helping to draft a policy on maybe some of these things, and we can hopefully reach out to local lawmakers and local leaders to chime in and to have them support or these kinds of initiatives. But what are we doing now to make sure that this project is that the larger Liberian community benefits? Like I said, this is a pilot. And because it's receiving a lot of thumbs up, so we would like to extend this in other parts of the United States. Already, there's a group in the Rhode Island that contacted me already. They are interested in it and they want for us to talk after this program tomorrow. So we're looking to duplicate this in other predominant larger Liberian communities in the United States and also Liberia. Next year, we were talking about it. We're going to plan to go to Liberia next year to also do this, but not only a town hall. We're going to do a couple of workshops also, helping people see how toxic the communication is, and then helping people detoxify the communication. Now, tomorrow, for those who may not be able to be there in person, Mr. Isa has established a Zoom link for us. So we will make that Zoom information available. We've been sending it out already so that people can chime in through Zoom. And also we will have a Facebook link, a Facebook Live, where people can be able to watch it live as well.
Let me put this question. I know you want to come in quick. Maybe you can answer this. Let's take one from our audience. And he begged that I put his question through. He said, I really appreciate the effort to get Liberia detoxified, trying to rally other groups. But as we have seen and know, when a country needs to make a change, or, yeah, I think that's what he meant, it starts with the government. Are you planning on engaging the government to set up a 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan to detoxify the country and call it Operation Detoxification? Like that.
I like
Anyone?
that guy.
Yeah,
I think that's a very good question. I think that's a very good question, and I think that's one of the things that we are anticipating, because we when we're talking about detoxification, we're not talking about just us in the diaspora. We're talking about Liberia as a whole, and the next government. That's what some of our recommendations we're going to send to our next government, and if the government can actually have a reconciliation commission, you know, in each county, and if that's an ongoing thing, that starts detoxification, because you first have to reconcile before you can even listen to one another, right? So those are things that we're going to put into our recommendations. And also, we will also be asking our media networks, social media networks, to help us with this, because like I said earlier, you guys are out there, you have, the audience that's watching, and the recommendation will maybe mandate you to guide your conversation, or to guide those who are coming on your platforms, who are some of them come on the platforms with the intention to vilify all others that are on the platform. So if those who are in the media network can guide that, and actually say we are not about that, and this is why when we come on the issue room, come on the issue room, we come here, we feel comfortable, because it is a permanent a network that's very respectful of people, so those are some of the things that we are going to be doing, and it's going to be extensive. We're not going to stop there. It's going to be extensive. We're going to have town halls. We're going to go to Liberia. I mean, it's just going to be extensive, because, like I said, you can only heal a nation when you heal the soul of the people. If you can't do that, then that's it. Then you can have all your money, all your economics. If the soul of the nation is not healed, then you don't have a thriving nation. So it's with prayer and everything, and this is going to be my closing. I hope you don't tell me to close again.
No, we're closing now. We're closing.
So that was a good question.
Yeah.
That was a good question from the brother.
So I want to close with this, and I just want to thank you, for Kino and Alphonso left, but I just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity. And I would close with this verse.
I haven't left. I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'm a religious person. I'm going to close with this verse.
All right. Okay. So let me do this quick.
Okay.
Let me post this. I put it first, but then I'm putting something here that says. So for those of you who are asking about, and Alfonso asked the question, are the conduits through which the town hall can be reached and people participate? Tomorrow's town hall in Beltsville, Maryland. Here's the Zoom. If you can copy and put it on your Facebook page and share it, we appreciate it. It came from Isaac, and as you can see, it's right there, the Zoom panel, the link and the passcode to enter, so you can do that. River says Pro say he has a question. So River says Pro, go ahead and call. We'll put you through quick. Just make your call quick so we can put you through, because I know your big sister here, she's missing you. It's been so long. So hurry up and call. But Sis Greg, go ahead and finish up what you were saying.
No, I was just gonna end with a verse, if you don't mind. There's a verse in Proverbs 15:1 that says, soft words turneth away wrath,
yeah,
but grievous words stir up anger.
Yeah.
So I will close with that.
And I think that's a good.
What the verse?
Proverbs 15.
I don't know the Bible. I know only one Bible verse.
That's okay.
Yeah, he knows John 3:16.
Yeah.
But that
All right.
that first the best serve as, I mean, even though this is not a religious group, but you can see that it kind of captured the whole essence of this particular panel discussion,
Yeah.
because people are using words that are becoming so aggressive and is causing so much stir, dissension, divide, hatred, animosity that will not lead us to coexist as a people. And so, to the question that you asked, and to the brother who asked, that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to make an impact in Liberia as a whole. And so, as we carried out these pilot projects and engage the Liberian communities and the Liberian people, and we begin to see the the impact and effect of what this means on Liberian would ultimately give the reason to getting it into their minds and hands and in the faces of those who are in leadership, so that a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plan of detoxification can take place. It definitely can. And the soul of the people, I want to steal your word there, Beatrice, the soul of the people, when the people begin to feel how easy it is
Yeah.
when people are respectful of one another, then it's going to move and push all of us to go to the extent to where we want to see it have a greater impact on not just a few, but the whole of the Liberian people. So I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity to have us share with you this evening. The link is there. We hope those of you who cannot join us in Beltsville tomorrow can hop on the Zoom and still be a part of what is happening tomorrow. So we thank you for this opportunity, and we just look forward to seeing how this is going to be um, the basis for impacting Liberia in a greater way.
Thank you. Thank you. Masa, 1 minute.
Yes. So concerning the topic we're discussing,
Okay,
I would just like to
Masa,
recite.
your brother
Yes.
calling. They hear from him.
That poor?
Yeah, Roses Pro. Roses Pro.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Your B sister
Bro,
here.
what's up, my man?
Oh, I'm so happy. That my favorite sister there. That's why, they were
Hey, River says pro, my boy.
so we gotta be fire and kind. But I just came on break. But I just want to thank Sis Mata and the other sister. I didn't really look at the name, so sorry for that. For the initiating stopping violence in our society as a whole, community, neighborhood, and society in general. Uh, that is great. It starts for we got a lot of violence or violence in society, gender-based violence, bullying, cyberbullying, a whole lot of things going on, especially with the introduction of social media. It's getting worse. People are bullying, it's so many things. So it will be very interesting to. I will follow that program you're talking about. It's great. This is what we need in our society now. We need healing. We need total healing because right now I don't even know where we are right now. Like people in the diaspora, the educated people who are when you look at their Facebook profile, unless they are misrepresenting themselves, but these are highly educated people. And you would be surprised some of the things that come from all of them now. This message. So it is about time that people like Martha Washington and the issue room and other people coordinate to sensitize our community, our neighborhood. That's what we need right now. We stay out of the war. We lost so many people, and we still people still there's still no healing. There's still division. People are divided about travel line, ethnic line, or party line. So many divisions. So this is very very necessary. So I just want to appreciate you, Martha. I want to appreciate the sister. I want to appreciate issue room for the initiative that you guys are taking to curb violence in our society. That's why I was just calling for. Thank you very much.
It's good to always hear from you. Thank you for your insightful, analysis there, and thanks for always listening to us. We appreciate your viewership, even in the chaos of work. I can hear people yelling in the background. You still awake just to come
I
and
know.
Thank you. We
You
appreciate it.
need detoxifying.
Thank you. Thank you, Roses, bro. It was good. So, Master, yes, just quickly close so we can wrap up.
Yeah, okay, so my sister Beatrice reminded me of something when she read that Bible voice. I still remember a poem. It's just one meaning from the fourth grade about words, about strong words, and it's called proud words. And it goes like this. It says, "Look out how you use proud words. When you let proud words go, they don't come back. They wear long boots, high boots. They make their shoulder stand high. They walk off. They can't hear you calling. So look out how you use proud words." And I remember that because I had to recite it before the class. We were having some program. That was my own poem, and I still remember it from the third grade. So let's be careful the words we use, because once you throw the words out there you use, then you can't get them back. You may say sorry, you may call and say sorry to try to minimize the earlier thinking impact, but you can't get it back. So let's be careful how we use proud words.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here. Alfonso, hang on. We got to do a snippet of what type of country is this. We just got to do a little bit. Masa, you want to stay? Listen, this is one segment in the show where we initiate folks. All right. I don't know if you've been following, but we have a segment called What Type of Country Is This? What type of country is this? Is the humorous part of after we talk all the serious talk, we come and laugh a little bit about the things in our country. So, what type of country is this that it takes almost 200 years before we want to detoxify after all the suffering we've been going through? What type of country is this? Huh?
I know. What type of country is this that our national detoxification actually has to start in Beltsville, Maryland, USA?
Where should be starting in the legislature?
Yeah.
No, honestly, it should be starting in the legislature. That's where it should start.
Yes,
When these
sure.
guys are going at each other's throats and insulting and don't care who's looking at them in this social media age. What type of country is this?
What type of country is this when on the eve of a major panel discussion, the program supporting that is not on the national radio station, but on the issues room? What kind of country?
That's a good one. That's a very good one. What type of country is this? Something of a national interest to the country. The national radio station says you pay them money before they air.
I know.
If you say you come, we'll do it for free. What type of country is this?
Yeah. What kind of country is this?
Idea how Umu in Australia, she watches her all the time with the time difference. I mean, she's up late. She said, words are like palm kernel. They never get rotten in the sand. Wow. That's profound.
Yeah.
That's profound.
Yes, it is.
So I want to make one small suggestion. That Bible verse from Mrs. Gray, that fourth grade poem from Masa, and this quote from Adiaha Omo, I think you should print and circulate them in the hall tomorrow. These are really powerful. These are powerful.
Yeah, because I think it's a combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
That's a good idea, Alphonso.
Yeah, just make it a little bit of little stuff.
I think, yeah,
very
that's
good
great.
idea.
Yeah.
So I'm posting it right there.
Thank you, Alphonso. Good idea.
Like palm kernel, they never get rotten in the sand.
Words are like palm
Yeah.
kernel.
They never get rotten in the sand.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
But what type of
Yeah,
country?
I wish we had not printed our we had not printed our programs already.
Detoxified. What type of country is this? Our political parties need to be detoxified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
We want our political opponents to, whatever country they were, our political opponents, we wish them death. We even carry caskets, saying they die because they disagree with us politically. What type of country is this?
Y'all know this song? Well, people can be singing, dancing. We all saw today.
Yeah.
So let me say, what country is this that a woman would stand and say, we all saw Also.
The chicken then will go to bed, but we also
No, but they want the women ain't gonna be sick. They want the women ain't gonna be dancing. They cussing there and they dancing. They cuss. What country is that?
Hashtag, what type of country is this? Hashtag, Jackie McAfee says here that the population of the people needing to be detoxified keeps going up versus going down. So, Master, you have a Herculean task because the number's not coming down. Not coming down. What type of country?
Yes, and it's going up. Yeah,
it's going up. It's high in the toxification. We got to detoxify it in there.
Yeah.
But what type of country is this? They say we got professors at the University of Liberia. I'm putting my mom on here now, Isa. And they don't even have their own internal data. We gotta be taking United Nations data, and the United Nations data, whether it's factual or not, we got our own data.
We got our own.
What is this?
What kind of country?
No, Volcano, though. The point of correction, though, let's be a little bit fair. I quoted our data here from the source, the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Protection, Liberia, and then also source, Liberia Demographic and Health Survey.
I said University of Liberia. I say the other place. I said University of Liberia professor.
Yeah, you're right. You said university. Yeah, you said the professors. But you see, the professor. What kind of country is this? Where the professors, they never write books, they never write textbooks, nothing. But they never write textbook, they never do research, they never write peer reviewed or journals, but they only discuss on the parable hot zokwe. What kind of country is this?
No path to gaining tenureship. They
just there. Nobody, they do write research paper, they don't do a peer review, they do write textbooks, nothing.
What type of country is this? Instead of doctor.
Let me put my mouth on the UL Alumni Association too now. Yeah. What type of country is the Alumni Association? They collect money and pay hustle on campus, but they never try to impact the actual structure and running of the university in terms of research and these kinds of things.
What kind of country is this?
What type of country is this? So, hey, Isaac, I'm throwing it at you.
I know.
What kind of country is this when building one well pump qualifies you to run for legislative seats?
Oh my God, my sister. Thank you very much.
One hand pump.
One hand pump.
Oh, we built a hand pump. We
build one latrine.
Yeah.
Seriously.
We built one latrine.
Yeah.
But what type of country is this that even building things for people, giving them things qualifies you to be a good leader? What type of country is this?
Yeah.
What type of country is this that the high school teachers are high school dropouts? What type of country is this?
Yeah.
Wow.
High school teachers are high school dropouts.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a cheap one.
Yeah,
that's where the problem is. What kind of country is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go on and on and on. It's the love for our country that we can point out these things and laugh about it, but we really got a lot of work to do to change Liberia. A whole lot of work. And again, like I said in the intro with Alphonso, the presidency term needs to change. That 6 years is eroding development in our country. We're stuck with one bad leader for 12 years. Then the bad leader again give it to another bad leader. 6 again. Then the other bad leader fighting for another 6 years. Then at 24. And what left for us now? What left for that template? That I want to call it template?
Yeah.
Honestly, we in a serious conundrum. I don't know how we'll do it, but the Constitution has
the way we'll do it. One of the ways we do it, Volcano, is the detoxification. So that's really important. We detoxify everybody, and hopefully they turn into being good.
All right. So the last 40 years we were dealt with bad leadership, and we're still dealing with it. So let's see, 1980 to now.
Don't worry, we're detoxifying.
All right, guys.
I had
Yeah,
to back
thank you
off
so
the
much.
road to do
No,
this,
no,
so I'm driving now.
we're done.
Okay.
We're done. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Good night.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
let
you
you guys
guys,
go.
man. It
Thank
was
you.
nice
Okay.
being on the
We
show.
wish you well for tomorrow.
Thank you guys.
We can make the trip to
Thank
Thank
Maryland.
you.
Other things
Thank you,
done.
Volcano. Thank you, Alfonso, for hosting us.
Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank you
you.
so
Apostle. Thank
much.
you for coming. Yeah.
Thanks for coming. It was really great.
And thanks for the show. I always follow. I'm just one of those quiet guy listening.
Who
Oh,
listen in the
yeah,
And
background.
you can come join us, man.
tell
Yeah.
Moses that we extend our condolences to him.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I will call him right after this show.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Condolences to Moses for the
Yeah,
passing of his
quietly.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will call him.
Thank you all. See you. Good to see you, Mrs.
Okay.
Gray. I only heard you that day. I didn't see you. Good to see you.
Now
But
you see.
she looks like her sister. She looks like Youngly.
Oh, don't talk about that one. That's your
Look
Don't,
at-
don't identify her as such. Just leave it.
yeah.
Let the
Yeah.
public not know the difference.
Amen.
He had to say it, right?
You can see twins and no twins. Man. You see twins
Now my
and no
boss
twins.
sister there.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay,
right,
good
good
night.
Yeah.
folks.
Okay,
Good to see you
okay.
guys.
Good night, everybody.
That's our drive
Most
safe.
eruptible. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Bye bye, Alfonso.
I
Bye,
will
Isaac.
bring you back here, man, to join us on some of these, major conversations we hold, to come in and be a contributing discussant.
Okay, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll email you. I got
Okay.
your email. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, brother. Good to see you, man.
Okay, Alfonso.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, man. Listen, I got to work tomorrow. If I'm wearing, we'll be probably catching up with our man, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, but let's just call him and then talk to
Yeah.
him. Briefly.
Okay.
So just hang tight, okay?
Okay.